Flames shooting out of the largest standing antebellum mansion in America. This was the scene last night in White Castle as the fire took a serious toll on the Nottoway Plantation house. Louisiana First News reporter Kayla Gaston speaking to parish officials today to get a handle on the damage there.
A day after a fire destroyed the Nottoway Plantation house, how the fire started remains under investigation.
It's a day that we were always afraid of.
Thick smoke and flames rose from the historic Nottoway Plantation Thursday afternoon, a 160-year-old structure in Iberville Parish, sparking conversation about its legacy.
There's so much controversy with the past, but you know, in the generations that we didn't live in that generation, right? The main thing is the preservation of history is so important.
10 fire departments rushed to contain the blaze. Though parts of the property were damaged, the main structure still stands.
We will continue our investigation, leave no stone unturned until we determine what has caused and why this fire happened. No timetable on how long it's going to take. This is a large-scale fire, so it's going to take a lot of effort.
The mansion, once a plantation home, now operates as a resort and museum, drawing visitors from around the world.
This event here is gonna take a toll on the Louisiana tourism.
Several departments responded to help fight the fire. No injuries were reported. For Louisiana First News, I'm Kayla Gaston.
The parish president says renovations were done years ago, but sprinklers were not added to the mansion.
Oh, freedom over me, and before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my own grave, and go home to my Lord and be free.
Shalom, welcome to another video, and as always, before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach, and next double honors to the head apostles / elder bishops of the great millstone who teach and who rule well, peace, blessings, and safety. To all you sincere Akim, keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith, regardless of what people hear. What do they forbear? All right, this is going to be a quick reaction to the clip that I played in the introduction of this video, a news clip of one of the largest plantations in the country, okay, in Louisiana, being set to flames, okay, being burned down. And this plantation, like all other plantations, are representative of the wealth that was accumulated through hundreds of years of free slave labor, okay, that Jacob served, all right, to Esau, Edom, okay. And once again, this is a representative of that wealth, and the fire burning it is a representative of the fire that's going to burn America, Babylon the Great, okay, because this country was built off of that free slave labor, all right, and it's only going to take the Lord 1 hour to burn this place to oblivion, okay. So that's the topic that we're going to dive into. And Yahweh Rechazami and the Heavenly Father's will is edifying to the elect. I'm going to start off here in Psalms chapter 49 and verse 6. I'm going to read on down to 11. It says, "They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to the Most High a ransom for him. For the redemption of their soul is precious, and it ceaseth forever." So all their money, their wealth, their riches, all right, is not going to redeem them out of the hand of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai when he comes to bring that judgment. And this precept just came to my mind. Let me go ahead and get it right quick. The book of Job, chapter 27, I believe in verse 8. All right, yep, here it is. It says, "For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he have gained, when the Most High taketh away his soul?" Verse 9, "Will the Most High hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him?" Okay, so though Esau, Edom has gained, all right, what is his hope going to be? Just as it only took a little bit of time to completely destroy a symbol of wealth, okay, for Esau, it's only going to take the Lord 1 hour to completely destroy great wealth here in America, Babylon the Great. So let's go back. Psalms 49 and 9. It says that he should still live forever and not see corruption. For he seeth that wise men die, likewise the fool and the brutish person perish. and leave their wealth to others. Okay, and what's going to happen? The Lord is going to take the wealth from the nations and he's going to transfer it over to his elect. Verse 11, it says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. And that's what these Edomites believe. Okay, especially the American Edomite, one of the most proud species of the Edomites. All right, they believe that their houses shall continue forever and the dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Let's read this in the NLT. Okay, all right, when it says when they call their lands after their own names, when they capture a land, all right, they name it after, different Edomites. Okay, America's named after Amerigo Vespucci. All right, Africa's named after Leo Scipio Africanus. You got places like Columbus, Ohio, Washington State after George Washington. Okay, so these are characteristics of the Edomites. They trust in their wealth and they believe that their riches will continue on forever. This is Psalms 49:6 in the NLT. They trust in their wealth and boast of great riches, yet they cannot redeem themselves from death by paying a ransom to the Most High. Redemption does not come so easily, for no one can ever pay enough to live forever and never see the grave. Those who are wise must finally die just like foolish and senseless, leaving all their wealth behind. The grave is their eternal home where they will stay forever, and they may name their estates after themselves. Okay, so kind of reads a little bit differently, just want to bring that out. But let's go next to Habakkuk chapter 2, and I'm going to get this one in the KJV. All right, it tells you that all the wealth of the heathens has been built up just to go into the fire. Okay, because we know that everything that they have on this side is going to be destroyed in World War III. Okay, all 2,000 square miles of America is going to be completely wiped out, turned into a desert, never to be inhabited again. This is Habakkuk 2:9. It says, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Okay, and that's what Esau has done. Let's read this in a different translation. All right, in the NLT it says, what sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly, okay, through slavery, robbery, treachery, deceit. You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest behind the reach of danger. Okay, and once again, this large plantation house is an omen, all right, a sign of all of America's wealth getting ready to go down in flames. Okay, I'm gonna read this in a different translation. All right, in the ESV it says, woe to him who gets evil gain for his house, to set his nest on high, to be safe from the reach of harm. All right, CSB, woe to him who dishonestly makes wealth for his house, to place his nest on high, to escape the grasp of disaster. Okay, but they've gained their money, their wealth dishonestly, and that's part of history that they want to cover up, a part of history that those plantations represent. All right, woe to them, meaning destruction unto them. It says, verse 10, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. Okay, and this is one big great city in the eyes of the Lord, and it was built off of bloodshed. Okay, America, Babylon the Great, was built off of the slaughter of the indigenous here, and off of the slaves' free labor for hundreds of years. All right, it says, behold, here's the point in verse 13, behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? Let's get this in a different translation. All right, in the NLT, it says, has not the Lord of heaven's armies promised that the wealth of the nations will turn to ashes? They work so hard, but all in vain. Okay, all that hard work. All right, they really didn't work hard. Okay, they worked hard at enslaving people. All right, but what is the Lord going to do to pay him back? He's going to turn it all into ashes. Okay, let's get the NIV. It says, has not the Lord Almighty determined that the people's labor is only fuel for the fire, that the nations exhaust themselves for nothing? All right, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, once again, this is a further omen of that. All right, let's go to Job chapter 20, and I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Okay, Esau's joy is only for a moment. Okay, it says, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. All right, and I'm going to skip down. Now, if I'm going to keep reading, it says, the eye also which shall see him no more. The eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. And though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned, it is the gall of asps with him. Verse 15, he has swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again, but the Most High shall cast them out of his belly. So he's not going to be able to enjoy, okay, the sinner's not going to get away with his spoils, as the scriptures say. Okay, he's not going to be able to enjoy the fruit of all the torture and once again enslaving that he's done across the four corners of the earth. The Lord is going to burn it all. And once again, this plantation being burned down to the ground is a further omen of his society, his wealth, his riches being taken from him. Okay, all being burned down to the ground. All right, I'm going to skip down to verse 18. It says, that which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. The Lord is going to take everything from him. Everything. Because he has oppressed and forsaken the poor, because he has violently taken away a house which he builded not. Surely he shall not feel quietness of his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Let's read this in a different translation. All right. It says in the NLT, it says, in the midst of plenty they will run into trouble and be overcome by misery. All right, because why? All the nations they have spoiled, like we read in Habakkuk 2, are getting ready to rise up against them. And when you go into that word for workers, okay, wicked, which is amal, all right, Strong's 860:01, all right, Hebrew word amal, okay, it says a laborer, a sufferer, a wretched one, a laborer or a workman. So all of his laborers are getting ready to rise up against him. All the nations that Esau has oppressed, okay, it says every hand of, it should say the workers shall come upon him. All right, and that's what's getting ready to happen. He's getting ready to be spoiled because he's spoiled. Let's get a quick precept on that. All right, Isaiah 33:1. All right, it says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealt treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. And that's what's getting ready to happen. And the Lord is the one who's bringing these things to come to pass. So we're getting ready to see the greatest downfall of a nation in history, and really we can't wait, okay? Because once again, our enemies have you know, as it said, that they have oppressed. All right, they've taken a house that they builded not. All right, and what is the Lord going to do? He's going to burn it all to the ground. This is James 5:1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. And behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. It says, ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton, ye have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. Let's read this in the NLT. All right, James 5:4 in the New Living Translation. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom you have cheated of their pay. Okay, because once again, we did hundreds of years, all right, of free labor, okay, under slavery, under American chattel slavery, right? And what were we supposed to get? We were supposed to receive 40 acres and a mule. That didn't happen. Okay, and then even now, you know, Jake talks about reparations, and that's laughed to scorn. Because why? It's not meant for them to give us reparations. The Lord is going to take everything that they have and give it to us, and they're going to be our slaves in the kingdom of heaven. And that's thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Bible. Okay? Once again, James 5:4 NLT, for listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom you have cheated of their pay. The wages you held back cry out against you. The cries of those who harvest your fields have reached the ears of the Lord of heaven's armies. So he's heard the cries of the oppressed. All right, and he's getting ready to render vengeance onto you. Okay, double. It says, ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Why? Because pursuant to Psalm 17:14, okay, it tells you that the wicked, that their portion is in this life. So they've had, the Esau Edom has had his riches and wealth on this side. Okay, so what's going to happen? Just like in the parable of Lazarus, it's going to reverse and he's going to go into perdition. All right, and then the Lazarus, which represented Jacob, the poor man, the oppressed of the society, okay, they're going to enter into the kingdom of heaven, into Abraham's bosom. All right, as the parable says. This is James 5:5 in the NLT. You have spent your years on earth in luxury, satisfying your every desire. You have fattened yourselves for the day of slaughter. All right, and the Lord, he's going to bring that slaughter. You believe that. James 5:7, exhortation to the saints. It says, be patient therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. Okay, and we're coming to that time, man. It's fastly approaching. Okay, and when that time comes, the Lord is going to raise up. He's going to raise up Jacob. Okay, in the day of the Lord, and it says that they're going to be for a flame in the house of Esau for stubble. So once again, this is a further omen. Okay, this plantation being destroyed, all right, is an omen of Esau, all of his wealth, his rulership, all being burnt in the fire. Okay, Obadiah 1:15, it says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee, and thy reward shall be return upon thine own head. It's the time we're coming into. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Okay, because what's going to be the end result of it? As I said, all right, Esau is going to go into captivity. As a matter of fact, let's get a precept right quick. Okay, Yahweh Basham Yahushai is going to give us rest. And he promised that we would rule over our oppressors. And that's their worst nightmare. All right, but we lived it. Okay, we were ruled over by our oppressors, and now we're getting ready to rule over them. Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Okay, and that's justice. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. Okay, one of my favorite verses in the whole Bible. But let's continue on. Okay, I'm gonna get verse 18, Obadiah 1:18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. So, for the 1,000-year reign of Yahushua, who the word originally calls Jesus, we're going to rule the nations with a rod of iron. And then after the 1,000 years is over, Esau, Edom is going to be taken and thrown into a pit, and they're going to be burned in the fire, completely devoured, just like that plantation. Okay, and that's according to biblical prophecy. And we'll close out with this last one. I'll read this verse and then we'll get one more and close out. Skipping down to verse 21, it says, and Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. So whoever's ruling in the last days, that those are the Edomites, and the Lord is raising up saviors of his people to execute judgment against the mount of Esau, the rulers of this world, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. So this is when we enter into the kingdom of heaven, when they go down. And once again, we know America, Babylon the Great, okay, and the nation that is ruling over this society is prophesied to be destroyed. And the Lord said it's only going to take me 1 hour. Okay, let's go ahead and read it right quick. Revelation chapter 18, and I'm gonna start at, matter of fact, just start from the top. Okay, it says Revelation 18:1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And this Babylon the Great is talking about America. It says, And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And this will be when the Lord returns to gather the elect right before the missiles hit. It says, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, and the cup which she had filled to her double. So this place is going to receive a double punishment for what it's done to the Israelites. It says, verse 7, How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Just like we read in Psalms 49. The wicked that boast themselves in their riches believe that their houses shall continue forever. They don't believe that this place will go down. It says, Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Here's the point in verse 10, Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, thy great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Okay, that's all it's going to take is 1 hour for the Lord to completely devour this place. And let's skip down, okay, to verse 17, Revelation 18:17. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein we were made rich, that all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High have avenged you on her. Okay, and we're going to rejoice. We're going to rejoice heavily in that day. It says, And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, that's where we get the name from, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. So the same way that this place, okay, this plantation got burned, and it's never going to be rebuilt again, never to be recovered again, America Babylon the Great will be completely destroyed, burned to a crisp. And it's only going to take 1 hour for the Lord to completely devour all 2,000 square miles of America Babylon the Great. So this is an omen, okay? Okay, this is the omen, the pinnacle of the Edomites' riches and wealth. Okay, they're the Lady of Kingdoms, America Babylon the Great, is going to go down in flames, just like this house, which was a symbol of riches and wealth for the descendants of the slave owners. All right, it went down in flames. So the Wadi Yahweh Shem Yahshai for that, we got a lot to look forward to. Once again in that day, okay, as it says, we're going to rejoice. The holy apostles and prophets for the Most High will avenge us on her. And that's it. I'm going to close it out. Yahweh Righteous, I was edifying. As always, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, and until next time, Shalom, and abide with Baal.